That works. Ed, creo que no agarra el periférico de la... ¿Quién es responsable de la... Tengo feedback de... Se me mete la transmisión, pero bueno. Responsable de la estrategia ciclista de París, junto con otros datos que les voy a dar. Ella está en el Departamento de Ordenamiento Territorial de la Ciudad de París. Se incorporó en el 2018, tras 8 años en el sector privado, y cuenta con un equipo de alrededor de 22 personas que lideran el Plan Velo, que es el plan de la estrategia ciclista 2021-2026, me parece que es. Y bueno, lo más destacable, y para ya darle el micrófono a nuestra invitada, es que en los últimos 9 años ha habido la implementación, como muchos de ustedes saben, de alrededor de 650 o más kilómetros de infraestructura ciclista en la ciudad de París. Y nos viene a contar la experiencia para los propósitos académicos y sociales que puedan servirles. Y yo, pues bueno, le voy a pasar el micro a Charlotte, la vamos a dejar presentar y después de eso, sesión de preguntas y respuestas que yo puedo traducir. Para los que no hablan, la va a dar en inglés, y para los que no hablan inglés, en las pantallas de atrás tenemos la subtitulación automática. Entonces también se los dejo, ¿no? Bueno, Charlotte, thank you for coming, and here you go, it's all yours.
Okay. Thank you. First, sorry that I don't speak Spanish, so everything will be in English. But with the new technology, I hope that you will understand what I will be saying. So today I will present you the plan that we have for Paris as a cycling city, and it's called Paris 100% cycle friendly. And that doesn't mean that we want every Parisian to ride a bike. We do not want everyone to get on bike, but what we want is that on every street of the city, people, if they wish, they can cycle because they would feel safe on every street. So they can choose to cycle if they wish. Okay, tricky thing. Okay. I have the same problem with the slides. Okay. Click. Okay. There's a quick presentation, sorry it's in French, but I think you will get in to present what is Paris. a little bit like Mexico City, I think. Actually, Paris, it's only the city at the center of a big metropolitan or regional area. So the city itself, it's only the heart of the urbanized region of Paris. In terms of density of inhabitants, we have one of the more important density in the world actually and in Europe. You can see the comparison between London and Berlin. So we have a lot of people per square meters, inhabitants per square meters. But the most important thing to see in Paris is that Paris is really gentrifying. So every day, a lot of people come from the suburbs, go in Paris to work, and go back in the evening. So actually, during the day, the population of Paris almost double. So when you add inhabitants and jobs, so people working in Paris, you have a density of almost 40,000 people per square meters. And just to comparison, I've put the figures for Tokyo, so the same numbers, inhabitants plus jobs. So you can see that we are almost the double of the density of Tokyo. So we have a lot of people that want to move around the city every day. Okay. And where do we come from? We come from a car-centric city. During the 60s and the 70s, Paris was not, we didn't have a mayor. So Paris was the only city in France, I think it was like Mexico City, where the capital was dealt with by the national government and by the president. So we had a president at the time, Georges Pompidou, who said, people want to use the car, we will make Paris car-friendly for cars. So we will transform the city to make it more usable by car driver. So this leads us to the picture that you can see. So the first picture is Concorde Square. This is where we had one of the Olympic venue, the Olympic Games. And of course, the most beautiful civil engineering project that we had at the time is the construction of the ring, so the highway around Paris that's called Périphérique, which is a beautiful feature of civil engineering. And now we have a lot of cars on it, of course. So this is where we come from. We are now trying to move from this car-centric view of the city to a more people-friendly view of the city with more pedestrian and more bikes and, of course, more public transportation. This is some pictures of what has happened in Paris because some people wanted it. For the bike itself, it did not start with Anne Hidalgo. So the plan that you see is historical plan. It's a plan from the end of the 90s. It was when the right wing was in charge of Paris. The mayor was Jean Tibéry. And he decided, actually, mainly his chief of staff was a cyclist, and he said, okay, maybe we can buy something for cyclists. And Jean Tibéry, the mayor, said, okay, you can build them, but you will build them on the left arrondissement, where I don't have people voting for me. So I will not lose any voters, but you can build your things. And they started to build some things for cyclists, but it was not really consistent because you had sometimes it was a bike lane, sometimes it was bus lanes, sometimes it was painted bike lane. So it was really different kind of infrastructure, but it was a start. Then came the first socialist mayor of Paris, so Bertrand Delanoë. And he pushed a lot bus lanes that at the time were open to cyclists. They are still open, but they started to open the bus lanes to cyclists. They also created some bike lanes, but it was more on, okay, I have a project on this street, I will build a bike lane on the street where I have a project. They did not see it as a network or connecting thing. And the big thing that happened at the time was the launch of VIVE, so the bike sharing system in 2007. And it was a huge success, more successful than they were intended. They were like, oh, actually people want to bike. What a surprise. And at the time, it was the biggest bike sharing system of the world when it was launched. Then came the first and the second term of Mayor Anne Hidalgo. And for the bike, it changed a lot of things. And she added, with the deputy mayor of the first term, Christophe Najdowski, who was from the Green Party. And in the second term, she has another deputy mayor, David Belliard, also from the Green Party. And together, they had this strong will and commitment to transform the city of Paris to a more friendly city when it's going to be very hot in the years to come, and especially for cycling. Because like every big city, we have a problem of air quality. We still do not comply with the air pollution that we would have to provide to the citizens. So it's a problem that we have to address. So for cycling, they decided to prioritize cycling like big time, saying, okay, we need a network all around the city. So it was the first time that biking was really seen as a real means of transportation, and as you focus on, okay, I'm going to build a metro line, and I have this big project, they said, okay, I also have this big project of a network all around the city. And they also stated that the cycle lane, protected cycle lane, should be protected, and they should be wide, with the good quality for cyclists. This is important, that it's come from political will. It's the only transportation system when it's built that way. Because when you build like a subway, for example, you have your traffic engineers that are able to say, okay, if you build a subway, you will have this amount of people on it. Or maybe you don't have a lot of people, so maybe a tramway is okay. But the traffic engineers, they are able to have figures for cars or for public transportation. But for bikes, we don't have, I come from kind of traffic engineer background. Traffic engineers, they have no idea how many cyclists would happen on a cycle lane. I mean, it's a means of transportation, and we have nothing. It's the same for pedestrian. If you do something for pedestrian, you have no idea how many pedestrians will come. So this has to come from a political side. They said, okay, it's going to be wide because we will have a big amount of cyclists. They also choose to prioritize cycling in budgets because nothing happened without money. So this is the amount of money that were put in the cycle infrastructure during the 2 terms of Mayor Anne Hidalgo, just to have a comparison every year. So 1 term is 6 years, so the figures that you have is for the twice 6 years. Every year, the city of Paris spends 500 million euros for the public transportation system. So we still put the majority of our money on public transportation and then on cycling. But it's still a lot of money. And they also make the cycling and the bike plan a priority for the civil servants and for the chief of DOT. So at one moment, the DOT was not delivering things fast enough, and it's one of the reasons when they change the chief of DOT. So they say, okay, this is important for me. If you're not delivering things, you will lose your job. That's a way a politician also can say that this is important. Quick slide. It's an important subject. Some people, when they're visiting Paris, they say, oh, but you don't have people complaining? Yes, of course, we have people complaining. It's the same in every city. Humans are the same everywhere. So we still have lots of social resistance from some people. So we have like mainly anything, news articles, like even because it's Paris, it makes the national news. So you make a bike lane in one street and it makes national news. So, okay. We had petition for inhabitants from shop owners. We had protests in front of City Hall. We have comments from everybody, anybody, even if they are not like concerned by the project or not touched by the project, they will comment on it. We had lawsuits, like several lawsuits every year from people that go to courts to try to prevent the project from happening. On the left side, you have this famous French national commentator that said when we opened the new cycle lane on Boulevard de Sébastopol that there would be no cyclists. And today we have 20,000 cyclists every day, which makes it the biggest cycle lane in France. The record is in the Netherlands, and it's 35,000 cyclists a day. So we are not there yet, but we are coming. In the middle, you have a Facebook post of someone saying, okay, they are starting this construction of a bike lane in the street. We have to go on the night that they are starting to prevent the construction company to build the cycle lane. This is from this year. And like what is written is the madness of Mrs. Hidalgo strikes again. So. And on the right side, you have it's a major national newspaper, Le Monde in France, and the Hidalgo bashing. It's like a regular newspaper subject, and they choose a picture of her on a bike. So this is one of the policies that attracts the more bad comments. Just for the history and people not knowing, this is a newspaper for the Netherlands at the end of the 70s, and actually it said that the shop owners on the street, they were against the construction of a cycle lanes, so they paid with their money a construction company to destroy the cycle lanes that have been built. This is the Netherlands. It happens everywhere. It's the same in every country. So, what are the key that allows us to move forward to kind of a cycle-friendly city that we are today, even if we're not like the Netherlands or Denmark? So the first key I would mention is connection. You definitely need a network. So this is the map of the network that we plan for the entire city. We said we would do it in the term, but it's like promises and not always fulfilled. So we will not have finished the network, and we knew since the beginning that we will not be able to finish. But the important thing is to say that it's like for all means of transportation, you have this planned network, and maybe you make 10, 20 years, 30 years to complete it. So it's the same for biking. We say, okay, we have this vision that in the city, the big cycle lanes should look like this, and we are implementing it as fast as we can, but still it's gonna take more years. So connection is really important. And this is the map of the protected cycle lanes, so the big cycle infrastructure that we're gonna build. But like I said, our plan is like every street would be cycle friendly. So that means that in the gray area that we have on the map, we are designing them as a neighborhood street, and in this neighborhood street we will not build cycle lanes. What we will do is make them with less cars, so few number of cars, and that way it's going to be cycle friendly for cyclists and for pedestrians. But we also take action on every street of the city. Look. Yes, I have lost the. Oh, I'll make a A. Ah. Okay. Another thing that we were really successful for us, it's the fact that we try to implement the project of the cycle lanes as fast as we could. This is the map at the end, just before COVID. In blue, you see that we had cycle lanes on construction on almost all around the city. So we were trying as fast as possible to build all the cycle lanes that we could. We got kind of lucky because at the end of this year, so 2019, we had a huge public transportation strikes in Paris, in France, but in Paris, so no subways. So people actually, like some of them, chose to use the bike. So they discovered the bike at this time, and we were just finishing the cycle lane. So like, oh, I have a new cycle lane. I don't have subways anymore. I will try the bike. This is Rue de Rivoli at the time. And just so you know, it was like the worst rainy week of the year, right this week. So in a like store, everyone was looking for a rain jacket. You couldn't find a rain jacket anymore because all these new cyclists had to buy their rain jacket. Then came COVID, and so we did two things. The most famous one is Rue de Rivoli. So we took 3 years to build the cycle lanes, and we finished it. And like maybe 5 months later, Mayor said, "Okay, we don't need the cycle lanes. We will just remove the cars." So that's when she decided that the car will not be allowed anymore on the Rue de Rivoli, and everything would be for bikes. And the bus lane that you can see on the left side, it's for buses, for taxis, and only the people on car that live in the street, they can go in. People living and deliveries. And everything else is for cyclists. So this is like the promise, but also at the same time we built 50 kilometers of cycle lanes with concrete blocks. So we did them in all arrondissements, all boroughs of Paris had the new cycle lanes. So you had these promises like the picture of the Rue de Rivoli, but also in your neighborhood you also had a new bike lane that you could use, and a lot of people choose to use bikes at this time. At the summer 2020, we did a survey, and one of two cyclists on the cycle lanes were people that started to cycle 6 months in the last 6 months. So new cyclists. And they came because we did the COVID lane that we did were really protected with a big concrete block. No cars on it. You couldn't park. Last image to show you, we're still trying to be as fast as possible. The green lights are the cycle lanes that we did only on the first 6 months of 2024. Of course, we had a big deadline at the summer of 24, but still it shows how we were able to build a lot of cycle lanes in a really small amount of time, and also how we used the Olympics game to accelerate the way we transform the city, especially for bikes. Same thing with numbers for people who are more in number of things. But just to say that we are going even faster on the second term of the mayor. Another key for successful transformation is the quality of the bike lane that we make. So we were really bad at it at the beginning, and we are still not good. You have to understand that if you compare our bike lanes to the one in the Netherlands, we are so far away from them. But still, we improved a lot. And this is really a key, because when you have a big political fight, you go to court because you have to defend your project with all these lawyers. But if you build bad cycle lanes, you will not convince people, because people, they freely choose to cycle or not every day. So you have to convince them. And the first thing you do in the morning, most of people, you take your kids to school. So if this trip, the first trip that you make, is not safe enough for you to put your kids on your bike, yes, you will not do it. And then you say, okay, I'll start the trip by walking, because in Paris, schools are usually really close to housing. I walk, and then I take public transportation, or worst, I use the car, and I drop the kid with the car. So the fact that people would feel safe on the bike lanes is really a key. Otherwise, the fights with the car owners are for nothing. And so we really put a lot of focus on the protection, the feeling of safety, the width of the cycle lanes, because it's also really important for the feeling of safety, and at the intersection design. Intersection, it's really a key. It's very tricky to design a good protected intersection for cyclists. It's not something that you can learn in 2 months. I've done that for 7 years and I'm still not good at it. So it's really, really difficult. And also another big thing for the feeling of safety, because what is frightening for cyclists? It's the cars with an S. So you also need to decrease the speed and the number of cars in the street and in the city. So also Paris is now a 30 km per hour city. So it's good for cyclists and also for pedestrians, who are the first people that get killed by cars. Just some images to show you the focus that we have on the protected intersection design. So in France, we do not know how to design a cycle lane. No one knows. No one in the city, no one in the design companies, in the architects, no one knows. So that means that you have to learn from someone, and this someone is not in France. And I think maybe in Mexico, it's not in Mexico anyway. So you have to learn from the best. From Paris, it's easy. It's a 3-hour train ride to go to the Netherlands. But anyway, that means that when you work with a design company that make the design of your project, you have to push them a lot. Okay, you have to learn and get better at designing the protected intersection, because you are not good and I am not good, and we will learn together. But you have to first state, we are not good. That's something, usually as a person, you do not like to say, oh, I'm not good at that. But we have a lot of focus on this thing. And just this last picture on the right side, I love to show it. We are really good in France to make bike lanes with right angle, which you cannot do with a bike, because a bike does not know how to. We cannot. But we do that. We never do that for cars. You have never seen a road where a car or trucks cannot go, because the geometry is not okay for the car or the trucks. And we have this special software for decades that allow the road designer to be sure that the trucks can turn on the street. And now the same software also works for bikes, and it's mandatory in our design that the design people use this software to be sure that the bike, and the cargo bike especially, can actually turn on the project we are designing. Otherwise, we are making a project that the users cannot use. It makes no sense. But we do that a lot in France. Another big thing I want to push in the way we were able to move in Paris is the role of the bike lobby. So this is a picture. During the first term of Mayor Hidalgo, she said, Paris is going to be the world capital of cycling. So that was maybe a little bit, I don't know, we're still not there yet, but she said that. And we have this bike plan, and it's going to be a marvel to cycle in Paris by the end of my term. And so Bike Association and Bike Lobby were like, great, we'll see. So half of the first term, they've seen that, okay, I don't see that much of a cycle lanes going out of ground. So they started to put this website online so everyone could check, like journalists could check. When they drew the bike plan, and they're like keeping tracks of what has been delivered by the city. And they also put these quality notes. So when it's green, the quality is okay, but they also said, okay, you have made me this thing, but it's a range, I consider it's not a good quality cycle lanes. So you see that on the map, nothing has been done, and they also said some of the things you have done, they're not good enough. So they pushed a lot on that, and they get the press on it. The website, the fact that it's a website, it's really easy, anyone can see, and you had this like thing going on like this, you could see the time of the tram going that way and the time of the bike lane not going. It was really efficient. And they say, okay, you're not going fast enough, and and what you're doing is not good enough. It was really efficient. So the last key I will talk about is usually overlooked, but it's important to have the good organization in your project. So you have three main actors that you need. Politicians, for sure. They need to want to change the city for which they're mayor, for example. And they have to also see that bike lobby, it's a chance for them. So say, okay, it's great, I have some bike lobby in my city. It's gonna help me change the city and move forward. Bike lobby are really important also, because when you have a public presentation of a project, you will always have several people saying, this is a bad project, I will not be able to park my car, the shops will not be delivered. So you will always have people saying it's a bad project, so you absolutely need people on the bike lobby, or citizens saying, standing up and saying, this is a good project, I need the project, I need the bike lanes because I want to ride my bike, I want to ride my bike with my kids, I absolutely need the bike lane. And you absolutely need to have this balance, vocal balance in the public presentation of projects, so the politician can move forward. When you're a bike lobby, the tricky thing is to be able to have a constructive discussion. Like, criticism is needed, but you have to be able to put it in a way that you keep the discussion open with politicians and with the technical in the public service. And the last actor, it's administration, so DOT, this is where I come from. And yeah, the key is that if it's a big project, like, okay, I have to spend like 2,000 million euros in 5 years, is my organization made accordingly? Because if you want to build a tramway of 200 million euros, usually you have a dedicated team to build the tramway, to get the design done, to make the tender for the construction companies. For bikes, often in a city's administration, it's not like this. So some politicians, they say, okay, I put the money, I have the will, but the DOT is still considering it as little project on little streets and not seeing that as a big project. So it's important that if it's a big project for the mayor, it's also a big project for the DOT, and the DOT must be organized accordingly. And the people in charge, they have to be able to make decisions by themselves, so have the policy, decision-making power. It's really important. And also, usually, like for bike projects, the people in charge are people that are bike enthusiasts, which is great. You do need someone that is able to put forward the bike subjects, but they have never seen a construction before, never spoken to a construction company. They have no idea how it's done, actually, like what type of material, how much it costs, what are the delay. And this is, I put a picture of me not to show my face, just to show that I do not come from transportation or from bikes, I come from road construction. I'm a civil engineer. So first I learned how to build a road. How do you build things? Because when you have your tender and discuss with your construction company and say, okay, this is your pace, but I want you to be twice as fast. It doesn't matter if you're constructing like a curb for a bike lane. To them, it's the same to construct a curb for a bike lane or a curb for a sidewalk or whatever project they have in the streets or the urban design. So the main thing is not to construct things. And also a very important thing to have in mind is that at the DOT, it's people. So all the debates that are inside, for the place, for cars, for bikes, for pedestrians, they're also inside. It's the same people, it's the same citizens, they are citizens, they have their own opinion, which is normal and okay. But as they work inside the DOT and for your project, they have way more power to change your project. Because the people outside, motorists that are against your project, they can go to court, but they can complain, but that's all. People inside, they can make your project not as good, they can make your project have delay. They do not make it consciously usually. It's unconsciously because everyone tries to do the job fine. But this is the most difficulties because they're inside and they actually have the power to move things. And also, advice for people at the DOT is not to conceal the consequences of political decisions, because sometimes we want the project to be approved because we want to go on as a civil servant when you are working on a project. And we tend not to always tell, okay, if you do that, it's gonna do that and that and that. And that's the worst to me. You always have to say it right from the beginning. That way, when they choose the project, they know, okay, this is gonna happen. And when things happen, they are ready. They already have the answers and everything. Otherwise, if they're not ready, when the bad things, the bad consequences of the project happen, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know it was gonna be this bad, I stopped the project. And this is why you lost time. And time, it's the most valuable, you need to be fast. Quick slide to show the results that we have with all these keys. So it's the last survey that we have, and on the left side, it's the people moving in Paris. So like I said, it's also a lot of people coming from the suburbs, moving in Paris. So the first one is public transportation, the second one is walking, and bike made it to the podium. So we remove cars from the podium, and bike is number 3. So it's very great. We do not want to be first or second. We still want to have in first place public transportation and walking, and we want bike to go even further and remove cars and others in the bottom. On the right side, you have the thing that every politician would look, because it's a model share inside Paris, so of Parisian people voting for the mayor. And in this case, walking is way first, and then in public transportation, and then in bike. So it's a very good result, and we are really proud of it. And the last picture to show, to keep in mind when you're working, who are you working for? So the left side, it's a famous bike road race in France, Tour de France. Every year it ends on the Champs-Élysées. And when I started, when you were looking at cyclist Paris on Google, you would find this kind of image. So men really sporty on a road bike, going really fast. Obviously they don't need the cycle lanes to ride the bike. But this is not who we are working for. The people we are working for are on the right side, so it's a picture I took actually on my way to work. You cannot see it on the picture, but it's heavily raining, like yesterday night. It's this kind of rain, and you can see a mother with the kids. Everyone is at the rain jacket, the rain pants. They're completely okay with rain, I don't care. They bought everything. They have this cool long tail bike. And they're like, okay, it's raining. I don't care. I suppose that she's going to take the kid to school. And I use the bike. And this kind of cyclist, you would never have seen 10 years ago when I started to bike in Paris. Never, never, never. And now you can see them in almost every bike lane, every morning on the community ride. You would see this kind of cyclist. And this is the public that we want to attract. We want to convince more people like that to get to the bike, and for that you definitely need really good protected network all around the city. And that's all. I just have picture like a lot of them to show you that we build cycle lanes everywhere to develop the network. And thank you.
Vamos a tomar preguntas ahora. Preguntas.
Thanks, Charlotte. What was the bike share and the car sharing modes on like 10 years ago compared with what we have now?
For bikes, it was 5%. And cars, I don't know, maybe it was between 8 and 10. Cars were the 3, was in 3rd place. Like in Paris, public transportation and walking has always been really high, and keeps that way.
Preguntas.
So thank you, Charlotte, and of course, really inspiring to see the progress that Paris has made. And this is something that we keep repeating, but I think it's really important to keep repeating it. Paris was not what it is today. It took a lot of political will, and you can see the results now, 10 years after. But I perhaps want to go more into detail in terms of the opposition, because this is something that we are currently experiencing here in Puebla, and it's at times it seems to be guiding a lot of the policy decisions by the politicians and by the public officials. So how, and you mentioned this, but perhaps you can go a little bit more into detail as to how can you address opposition from the neighbors. We call it vecinocracia, the neighborcracy. We have the business owners, that there's a lot of opposition from there, but also the internal opposition within the government. There's a lot of engineers from the traffic department that even when they see their boss cycling, they still think that it is ridiculous to be making cycle tracks all over the city. So how do you deal with these 3 main opposition factors?
Okay, so for the political one, there's 2 ways of responding. The first one is during the campaign for the 2nd term, the bike question was one of the subjects that was debated during the debate of the campaign. And the mayor said, I will build this thing. This is a promise I make in my campaign. And David Belliard, the deputy mayor, made the same promise. And they got elected. And it's part of the response, because when you have opposition, you say, okay, you are not okay with the project. But we had a campaign and we won. That means that people want, majority of people, I mean, it's a democracy, not everyone agrees, but so we have the political power given by the citizens to make live the project that we promised. And also we have to deliver the promise that we have made. This is the meaning of the political, like being a mayor, this is the meaning of being a mayor. I make a promise, I need to deliver by the end of the term. It's the first response. The other political response is bike lobby. You definitely need that, because they speak to people, they speak to the press, and they say, I need that. And even though they say, Anne Hidalgo, she's not going fast enough. Even with the pace that we had, I think we are one of the cities of the world going the faster. They say it's not fast enough. She's not doing, yeah, she's okay. It's okay, but they could be better. The bike lanes could be better. They could be wider. We don't have enough bike parking. We still are really afraid. A lot of people are too afraid to take their bike, so it's not good. It's not fast enough. the fact that these people, they are vocal, they talk to the press, they speak at public presentations saying we want more, it's okay. At the very least, you need to do that. It's a very minimum that you should do given what you have promised during the campaign. This is from the political side. Still, when you're dealing with your project, have to be a little bit careful on the administrative side of things because, like I said, you have lawsuits. So you have to be able to defend your project in front of the judge. So you have to be quite okay with all the processes that you need to have, for example. For how do you convince people inside? It's like I said, like you need to be aware of who is in charge of your project and what is the power inside the DOT or inside this organization to be sure that you have key people on the key places that will put forward your agenda and will be allies. And that's those people inside that will convince or try to convince the other one inside. It has to be from inside. So people from inside speaking to other people from inside. And that it cannot come actually from the political side because they're like, okay, it's a mayor, and or the bike lobby because they also say, oh, but they're always complaining. Yes. But sometimes, yeah, and this complaint, okay, it's not a good comment, but this comment, okay, it's a good comment. Maybe we can do something with it. That, yeah, my response. Just for the modal share, I want to go back. You have to understand that the modal share of car in Amsterdam is way higher than in Paris. It's like 20%. So modal share is important, but it's not the most important thing. It means that in Paris, even 10 years ago, we had convinced more people to not use the car than in Amsterdam today. The main problem is not the modal share, it's the number of cars in every street. So like I said, in Paris, we have a lot of people. So even if it's a small amount, a small percentage, as is multiplied by the big amount of trips, it still is a too big amount of cars, and this amount of cars is threatening to cyclists. So the main thing that we look is the number of cars, and we have to reduce it in most of the streets to make the streets cycle friendly, or to have we have to build a bike lane. Okay.
¿Alguna otra intervención? ¿Pregunta? Charlotte, thank you very much for coming to the Institute.
Muchas gracias.
Y para todos en línea, bueno, vamos a tener la intervención en línea. Algunos ya les he pasado la liga de YouTube. Si la quieren buscar, los compañeros que vienen de fuera, está en YouTube, en el X y es ICSYH, así buscan el canal. Y ahí pueden ver la conferencia, igual subtitulada otra vez. Y muchas gracias por venir. Hay un pequeño refrigerio atrás, hay plátanos y manzanas, si gustan, por favor. There is a little snack. So thank you, Charlotte, again for sharing your experience with us. And yeah, we call it a day. Thank you.